so excited for today's topic. I have been waiting several months now to record this episode, which is all about my thoughts on using AI, artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT in your digital marketing and how you can really leverage it to grow your e-commerce business. I feel like I kind of had to sit on this topic for a bit though, because there are so many people out there spruiking these shiny new tools. You only have to open your eyes or even blink and you'll see there's a new course, there's a new app, there's a new something or other. Somebody's reaching out to you to sell you something. I even saw one very well-known Australian business coach recently promoting ChatGPT as some kind of a miracle that will make you it seemed like they were saying a millionaire entrepreneur basically overnight. I'm sure that's, not quite what they were saying. But anyway, I guess if there was ever a trendy bandwagon that everyone and their mother's uncle's dog is jumping on to try and make money from you, this is it. But there is no business model that will ever be built on, fads or trends or just jumping on the hottest new thing, at least no long-term successful business. That's not really sustainable. And unfortunately, with all the hype surrounding ChatGPT and other AI tools right now, not only are there people who think this is a magic tool that will completely transform their business and make them truckloads more money without the need for actually growing a team or for really understanding the fundamentals of business or any of that kind of stuff. But there's also a lot of fear and anxiety as well, particularly from creative professionals like designers and copywriters, even photographers, fearing that these tools will completely replace them and their jobs. And I've definitely observed some small business owners acting as though these tools can completely replace creative professionals, which is a little short-sighted of them in a couple of very important ways. And we'll get into this in a bit. So, don't worry about that. However, at the same time, AI as a technology is not going to come and go. No person can stop this technology from advancing, I don't believe. And I do believe that AI is probably going to be one of the biggest things in our lifetime. The way it's impacting businesses right now might be a hot topic, but I truly believe that in the next 2 to 5 years, if you don't find ways to leverage AI in your day-to-day life and business, then you're probably going to be left behind. According to Bill Gates, AI as a big, a bit of a technological advance is as big rather as the internet. And it's, that's a massive call to make, right? And it's moving at such a rapid pace. I certainly remember when the internet really became something adopted by the masses. And I looked it up. So while it was invented and in use before that time, by the time I got to uni in the mid-90s, it was mainstream at that stage. Well, that's when it became mainstream. And in fact, I just looked it up and it was 1993. There were 130 websites on the internet. Can you believe it? Just 130 websites on the internet in 1993. And then by 1996, there were 100,000 websites. It exploded in that short space of time. So if Bill Gates is saying that AI is as big as the internet, then this is huge, right? So my very first professional job was in the mid to late 1990s at one of Australia's earliest e-commerce startup companies. And at that stage, there was no Google, and some bright spark wanted to invent a phone book, like a printed phone book for website URLs, which is kind of hilarious. Obviously, the internet completely transformed our lives. It's changed the way we live, it's changed the way we work, it's made old industries obsolete, and it's helped bring new industries to life. And I'm sure that, there would be some things that we wish we had from before that time, but there's also a lot of things that none of us would want to give up, right? So if AI has the potential to create similar change, then we'd all better buckle up because this could be a bit of a wild ride. The key for me is learning how to actually use these incredibly powerful tools to help in a positive way without losing the authenticity of your brand and the real human connection with your audience, because that kind of real human connection and, authenticity of connection and relationship, it's something that I think many of us humans just crave more of, in particular since COVID kind of happened and isolated so many of us. So we don't want to lose that. So how can we use these tools to help us be more innovative and more efficient and how can we use them to get a better result for ourselves in our business as well as for our customers, and how can we make sure that we don't just tie ourselves to the notion that these tools are about fitting more busy work into our day. Sure, we all want to be as efficient and as productive as possible, but I don't think any of us can innovate or come up with new ideas that might actually transform the way we do business if we are literally busy all day, every day. That would leave absolutely no time for creative thinking. So with that said, I do believe that there are ways you can use these tools really well to your advantage, and things that you should probably avoid if you want to leverage AI to the max in your business. So when we dive into this episode, I'm going to give you a number of suggestions for how I believe you should use ChatGPT in particular in your marketing. There's, or other similar AI tools. And I'm also going to give you a couple of ways I really think you should avoid as well. But before we get into that, here's something fundamental you need to understand about how AI actually works. So the power of AI is in the questions that you ask it. And it also relies on the examples and input you give it to learn from. AI will only be as strong as the information and the examples it's fed. It's really important to understand that. Now, I want to tell you a quick story. So a year or so ago, I took my sons to an open day at AI Lab, which is attached to Adelaide University, where one of my best friends is actually the CEO. And they were running an open day for senior school students to show them about careers in AI and tech. And we got some first-hand demonstrations for not just the use cases of AI in industry and government, but also the processes for actually teaching the machines to learn. It's like garbage in, garbage out. If you don't give the machine enough examples in terms of volume and enough instructions about what is quality and what isn't, and what is, is right and wrong and good and bad and all of that kind of stuff, then you won't really get the output that you really want. And I think it was at that point when the team there were demonstrating how they actually train these systems that my two boys, who you guys probably know if you've listened to this show for a little while, are fully into their swimming and sport and all of that kind of stuff. They're actually both very, very good at maths as well, so which is why I took them. They just switched off. They were so bored because it was literally just tedious, mind-numbing data input stuff that I don't know quite why the AI lab team thought that was an inspiring thing to demonstrate. But anyway, whatevs. Obviously, ChatGPT is learning from content all over the internet as well. So not just what you personally feed it yourself or your team, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the information it spits out is always accurate or high quality. So let me give you some examples of how my team use ChatGPT to help us, and a couple of ways that I suggest that you avoid it. And real quick, before we dive into that, if you are a long-term listener of this show, you might have just noticed that we have changed the name of the show. Hopefully you like it. It's something, it's a little bit of a rebrand for us, I guess, moving from Productpreneur Success Podcast to the Scale My Shopify Store podcast. Of course, the kind of content that I share is going to be just as good and hopefully, if not better, to help you scale and grow your e-commerce businesses. All right, let's dive in. We're going to dive into some ways to use and ways to avoid using these AI tools like ChatGPT in your business. Now, first of all, I love to suggest that you use it to brainstorm topics for emails, blogs, and other content. Now, it can be so incredibly hard, especially if you are working alone and you're faced with a blank page trying to come up with some creative ideas. It can be really hard coming up with all the content ideas yourself, even if you are a copywriter. And you can be probably more efficient with that content ideation or even writing first drafts faster if you use something like ChatGPT as a brainstorming tool. As a business owner, I strongly advocate that your role in your marketing should be in strategy and direction and really setting the course. It also, really understanding who your ideal customer is and what is meaningful to them, what's engaging for them, what topics are relevant to them, in relation to what you do and sell as well. But, that being the overarching role for you as a business owner, in terms of the execution of that with, all the variety of content that you need to come up with, use ChatGPT as that brainstorming tool. It can be fantastic for that. So a prompt that you might give it would be, generate 5 ideas for creating content on Instagram around the topic of blah, 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 whatever it is. That's the topic of the day, week, month, etc. Or you could prompt it with, write 5 promotional taglines that will attract customers to your website and products. Or you could say, write a number of variations on some copy that you've written, whether it's ad copy or email copy or product descriptions or whatever. You could say, generate 4 title options for a blog post about, and then insert the topic there. And use the following keywords in the title. So if you already have an SEO strategy and you know what keywords that you need to target. Or you could prompt it with, write a social media post about the launch of our new product, and then you need to describe exactly what the product is, what social media platform is, who the audience is, even describe the kind of brand tone of voice that you're going for can sometimes be helpful. You could prompt it to write 3 compelling call to action messages to use on a landing page for your new product, and then, describe what that new product is, all of the details like I just mentioned. Now, don't just copy and paste the entire content, though, whether it's content for email, blog, etc. Don't just copy and paste it. For starters, ChatGPT seems to prefer to write long form copy, so long sentences, long paragraphs, and just long emails generally. It hasn't kind of seemed to learn yet to optimize for readability, and certainly not for what will visually appeal in an email campaign, once you've built it out in Klaviyo. ChatGPT, is the copy that it writes is also going to be fairly bland, or as I heard someone describe it recently, it's as dry as a piece of toast that you left in the toaster until it caught on fire, and then your dad threw it in the backyard and you had to go eat it. Meaning it won't inject the turns of phrase or project the kind of engaging personality that you probably want for your brand, right? Also, you have to make sure that you check what it gives you for accuracy. I saw someone use ChatGPT for a blog recently about a particular entrepreneur, but the facts that ChatGPT attributed to this entrepreneur, that he was the author of a particular best-selling book, were actually inaccurate because the book's author was someone completely different. So, if ChatGPT is pulling content from all over the internet, somebody might have, as a bit of a laugh, uploaded some inaccurate content. And so you really do need to check. So for all of these reasons, you really don't want to just copy and paste ChatGPT text and use it in a blog for, other website-based content that you're trying to optimize for SEO either. If readability is poor, the copy is unengaging or inaccurate, then Google, of course, will penalize you for that. All right, the second way I want to suggest that you use it is to help with keyword and audience interest research. So you can do things like ask it to generate a list of keywords for an SEO campaign related to your latest product launch, and make sure you can prompt it to include long tail keywords and low competition keywords. Obviously, anytime you're prompting it to do this, you've got to actually describe what the product is, who it's for, probably your brand, make sure it has all of those facts and bits of information. Or ask it to generate a list of related keywords to an existing keyword that you rank for, or to one that's hugely competitive maybe, and that you're unlikely to rank highly for that. So sometimes you just need a little bit of help coming up with those ideas. It's lateral thinking, creative thinking, just coming up with related ideas can be hard sometimes. You could ask it to write some draft meta titles and descriptions for a specific piece of content. So making sure that you describe what the content is about. Of course, like I alluded to earlier, don't remove all the humanity from your copy. You still need the text to represent your brand's tone of voice and be engaging. So always be sure to touch things up yourself. And in addition, if there are specific keywords you still want to include, be sure to add those to your ChatGPT prompt. You could also ask it to give you some commonly asked or frequently asked questions about your product category. So your FAQs page is, should be or is likely to be a pretty highly frequented page on your website, and it can actually often rank quite well for SEO. In a similar vein, you can use ChatGPT to help you with interest audience research for your social media ads. So, for example, you might say, I'm researching interests to target for meta ads I'm selling, and then, say what the product is that, and then you'll need to say what the product, who the audience is and what the product does for the audience. And then you can say, I want to target, give them all of the demographics, whether it's, parents with children aged 0 to 3, for example. I want to find brands, tools, books, movies, places, stores, competitors, apps they're using, events they attend, communities they are a part of, who they follow on Facebook, who they follow on Instagram, what blogs they read, what TV shows they watch, forums they read, or any other interests you can think of that I can use to target this audience on Facebook. So a bit of a long prompt, but you're going to get some really good insights that way. And there's loads more similar examples of ways you can use AI to help brainstorm or give you multiple draft ideas for your advertising and your SEO. But hopefully these give you some really good starting points. And, of course, again, don't just copy and paste. All right, the third way that I want to suggest that you use ChatGPT is to help you understand your target market. So you can actually use it for market research and competitor analysis. Now, I wouldn't say this is the exhaustive way to use it, but this is a fantastic starting point that you can then build from. So, you could perform competitor analysis. You could input prompts that request information about your competitor's customer base or target audience or product offerings. You could ask for comparisons between your business and your competitors, focusing on things like products, pricing, and marketing strategies. You could request ideas on improving your product or service to stand out in the market. Forgive me, just stopping to have a sip of water. I've been talking for hours today and my throat's about to crack. You could use it to gain demographic insights as well and understand your target market better, which of course, can help you create or document a more accurate buyer persona that we all need to really know about if we're going to have success with our marketing. So, you could collect data on your target audience's preferences, needs, interests, and pain points by providing relevant prompts. You could request insights into different customer segments and their needs and wants and expectations. An example prompt that I did myself, and I'm just going to share this. I want to start an online beauty line for teenagers, age group 12 to 15 years, residing in Sydney. I am looking for specific information about their demography, both residents and foreigners. Act as a marketing research assistant and furnish all the information about the teenagers residing in Sydney. And here's what ChatGPT gave me. It'll give everyone usually gives everyone a different answer. Starting an online organic beauty line for teenagers in Sydney is a great idea, but it requires thorough market research to understand your target audience. Here's some information on the demographic profile of teenagers in Sydney, Australia. And it goes on to list population size, the proportion that are teenagers, age distribution. It talks about some of their development characteristics as well. So it's like this group is characterized by rapid physical and emotional development and a growing interest in personal grooming and skincare. I can say that's for sure. Caught my 16-year-old son doing his hair and putting on some aftershave this morning before he went to school. So that was rather nice. ChatGPT gave me information about ethnic diversity as well. It gave me information about their spending habits. It also said, consider offering products at different price points to accommodate various budget ranges. It talked about environmental and organic awareness of teenagers in Sydney. And gave me suggestions for how to tap into that. It also talked about the online presence. So teenagers are typically tech savvy and active online. So it really gave me quite a lot there. It also talked a little bit about local competitors and seasonal considerations as well. And then it also suggested at the end, to gather more specific and up-to-date data, you may want to consider conducting surveys or focus groups with teenagers in Sydney to understand their preferences and pain points. And I ended up even going back, so you don't have to just take what you get in one response. So I actually went back and said, tell me more about specific competitors already in the market. So it could give me a little bit of information around that as well. Now, certainly for me, reading all of those responses, it definitely wasn't exhaustive, and I certainly would not personally launch a new business based off just what I could get there. But however, it really did give me a good baseline to, and lots of really good prompts that I might not have thought about to start with, and so, really to get those thought processes, creative thinking, ideas, prompts for different ways to research that further. I thought it was a really excellent exercise to do. Now, of course, there are plenty of other ways that you can use AI in your marketing or in your business generally, whether that's for tasks like note-taking or creating chatbots or automating various things. Or I'm sure there's loads of other ways that you can use it for creative ideation and so on and so forth. The intent of this episode was definitely not to provide an exhaustive list, especially as this is a tool that continues to evolve and improve. So I'm sure that there will be loads of new, in 6 months' time even, there's going to be a lot more that we can talk about. Now, the next thing I do want to dive into is a little bit more about how not to use ChatGPT. So I've already given you some examples of things to avoid doing when you use ChatGPT, namely, don't just copy and paste. Make sure you edit to reflect your brand voice, check for accuracy, and so on. I didn't talk about the need for testing. I think that you should always split test something. If you're going to try something new like this, then maybe split test it against something that you've created yourself. For example, in an email, you could do that very, very easily, or in an ad. But something I didn't mention earlier that I feel that I should add in here too is, don't rely on this kind of tool to help with any legal documents like contracts or lease agreements or financial documents or anything like that. Not least because of the risk of inaccuracy, but also because whatever information you put into ChatGPT is not going to be remaining private. So that's a risk if it's sensitive information. But aside from the actual content side of things, here's something else that I really want you to consider. Whose job should it be to use this tool? Now, if you are a new startup and you're a solo operator, then no doubt you will want to learn to use this tool effectively. And I think that you should. It will absolutely help you to become more productive and get more done with your available time. But here's something I want you to consider. As the business owner, be mindful of falling into the mistake of taking on using ChatGPT to increase your productivity to the point where you don't delegate at all. Your role as the business owner should be to maintain the vision and the direction of your business, to set the plans, work on building your brand visibility, work on product development, analyzing your progress and results, and basically all the things that help establish your brand as different, better, and in high demand, and that keep the business growing and on track, right? If you also retain ownership of all the doing tasks in your business, like executing all the busy or time-consuming tasks like creating and posting all your content, or answering all the customer service inquiries, or separate to marketing related stuff, picking and packing all your orders. If you keep all of that stuff on your plate, you will bottleneck your growth, which is fine if you have you just want to create a job for yourself, and you generate enough income to replace a traditional career job, for example. But not if you want to actually grow your business, not just because one person only has a certain number of hours in a day, and at some point you will definitely hit your limit, but because a person who is so tightly scheduled and busy doing things all the time leaves no brain space left for creative thinking. The good ideas that really help you to transform your business and grow in leaps and bounds don't come when you are sitting at your computer doing all the busy work. And because if you build your business with just yourself and a bunch of tech tools that you still need to operate and execute everything, you will also tie yourself into a job that doesn't allow any breaks or any holidays. You won't have any time to get sick, let alone the kind of flexibility you probably desired when you started your business. This kind of business actually also isn't really valuable either, beyond what revenue you make and keep for yourself. So no investor or buyer will want to acquire your business if it's set up to rely 100% on you. So whilst using these tools can be incredibly helpful when you get started, don't lock yourself into it indefinitely. As you start to build a team and delegate to external agencies or contractors, make it their job to use these tools to their fullest advantage instead. That's my little rant on this topic. Not a rant really, but just hopefully a little bit of a heads up. So that is it for today's episode. I really hope that you've got a few useful takeaways and ideas from this. Maybe some food for thought on the best ways to use and not use AI in your business. Now, for those of you who are ambitious, who are ready to get some help to scale your Shopify store faster and want the help of an e-commerce marketing expert that guarantees your results, make sure that you book in for your free strategy session. So you can do that by heading to productpreneurmarketing.com/let's-talk. I will, of course, include the link to that page on today's podcast show notes page. So that's it. I really hope you've enjoyed that episode. I will look forward to being with you on the show again next week. Bye for now.